The news broke quietly at first, a whisper in the entertainment world that no one paid much attention to. But within hours, it spread like wildfire. Sara Bluma was returning to Spain. For most people, it sounded like just another career move. But for those who knew what was really happening behind the scenes, for those who had seen the tension in the last few weeks, this wasn't just a trip. It was an escape. The night before her flight, Sara posted something that caught everyone off guard. It wasn't a photo or a statement, just a few cryptic words on her Instagram story. Sometimes you have to go back to where everything started, even if it hurts. Within minutes, the internet exploded. Fans began dissecting every word, every comma. Was it a message for Can? Was it about the argument that supposedly happened between them days before? Or was it directed at the one group that had recently grown cold toward her, Yaman's family? For weeks, rumors had been circling that things between Sara and Can's family had grown tense. What started as polite distance had turned into visible disapproval. Insiders claimed that during a recent family dinner in Rome, Can's mother had pulled Sara aside and told her, "If you love him, don't bring more trouble into his life." Sara had smiled politely, but that night, when she returned home, she broke down. She had always known she wasn't fully accepted. She came from a different world. Outspoken, modern, unfiltered, while Can's family valued privacy, tradition, and loyalty. They had tolerated her, yes, but they had never embraced her. And now, after weeks of tension, it was clear, she had lost their trust. Still, she didn't tell Can everything. She didn't tell him about the warnings, the harsh words, or the tears she had cried alone. She didn't want to add fuel to the fire. But she should have known, secrets have a way of finding their way out. The next morning, just before leaving for Spain, she received a message from an unknown number. The text was simple: "You think leaving will make it disappear? Some truths follow you everywhere." Sara froze. She didn't know if it was a threat, a warning, or someone trying to scare her. She deleted the message instantly, but her hands wouldn't stop shaking. That same morning, Can was already at a film studio in Rome. He was focused, professional, but something felt off. He had seen Sara's cryptic story before heading to work, and it had unsettled him. He showed it to his assistant and said quietly, "What do you think that means?" The assistant hesitated. Maybe she's just emotional about leaving? But Can's instincts told him there was more. There always was. By noon, the media had already twisted Sara's post into a dozen different headlines. Sara Bluma leaves Italy after family conflict? Yaman's family gave a final warning, and Sara ignored it. Sara's cryptic goodbye: is this the end? Each headline hit harder than the last. And while Sara was boarding her flight, unaware of how big the story had become, Can's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. His manager called first. "Can, you need to see this. They're saying Sara left after a fight with your mother." Can rubbed his temples, exhaling sharply. "I'm not dealing with this right now." "Maybe you should, before it gets worse." He hung up without replying. Later that evening, while Sara's plane was flying over the Mediterranean, Can sat alone in his apartment, scrolling through social media. Every post, every comment, every rumor seemed to twist the knife deeper. People were accusing him, his family, even calling them controlling and cold. And in the middle of it all, that story. That one message that now seemed to be haunting him: sometimes you have to go back to where everything started, even if it hurts. He stared at it for a long time. Then he whispered to himself, "What did you mean by that, Sara?" But thousands of miles away, Sara was staring out the airplane window, tears quietly sliding down her cheek. She had left Rome, but she couldn't leave behind the guilt. Because what no one knew, not even Can, was that there was a secret behind her message. And if it ever came out, it wouldn't just hurt one person. It could destroy them all. The next morning, headlines were everywhere. News outlets across Italy and Spain had turned Sara's short message into a full-blown storm. Yaman's family warned her, she didn't listen. Sara Bluma escapes to Spain after secret tensions in Rome. The mysterious message that sparked a family feud. The story had become bigger than Sara herself. And what was worse, this time, it wasn't just gossip. Someone from inside the Yaman circle had spoken. A well-known journalist revealed that a family member close to Can had privately shared their concern, saying, "We tried to warn her. There are things she shouldn't have said, and lines she shouldn't have crossed. But she didn't listen." The quote went viral instantly. Everyone was talking. Who said it? What had Sara done? And why was everyone acting like something much bigger was being hidden? Meanwhile, in Madrid, Sara landed at Barajas airport looking pale and exhausted. The cameras were already waiting for her. Dozens of reporters surrounded her, shouting questions. "Sara, is it true that Can's family told you to stay away? Did you post that story for Can? What secret are you hiding?" She didn't answer. With sunglasses covering her eyes, she walked past them quickly, her silence saying more than words ever could. But as she got into the car waiting for her, her phone vibrated. It was a message from an unknown number again. "Spain won't save you. He deserves to know the truth." Her heart sank. She looked around nervously, as if someone was watching her. That evening, she checked into a small private villa outside Madrid, the same one she used to stay in years ago, back when her career was just beginning. The same place where she and Can had shared their first secret weekend together before anyone knew about them. It was full of memories, and ghosts. She sat on the terrace, staring at the orange sunset, trying to calm her mind. But the silence didn't last long. Her manager called, panicked. "Sara, you have to say something. This story is blowing up everywhere. Can's team won't comment, and the media's painting you as the villain." "I don't care about the media," she whispered. "I care about him." "Then tell him before someone else does." Sara hung up, tears filling her eyes. She knew her manager was right. She had one chance left to tell the truth, before it reached him through someone else. But what was the truth? That's what the world didn't know yet. Because the family warning wasn't about fame, or manners, or reputation. It was about something far more dangerous, something buried deep in the months before she met Can. A year ago, while filming in Spain, Sara had become involved in a private financial project with a producer who later turned out to be under investigation. Nothing illegal on her part, but there were rumors, papers with her signature, enough to cause suspicion. When she started seeing Can, his family found out about it quietly. They had warned her to stay away from that man and to clear her name before going public. She hadn't listened. Instead, she'd buried the story, told Can half-truths, and convinced herself it was over. But someone hadn't forgotten, and now that she was back in Spain, that someone was ready to talk. Late that night, she received a voicemail. The voice was deep, calm, and familiar. "Sara, we need to talk. You can't keep pretending this will disappear. You owe him the truth before I give it to him myself." She froze. She recognized the voice immediately, Stephano. The same man who had once promised to keep her secret. Meanwhile, in Rome, Can's mother sat in her living room, scrolling through the endless headlines. She sighed deeply and turned to her sister. "We told her. We warned her that the truth always comes back. Now it's too late." Her sister frowned. "Do you think Can knows?" "Not yet," she said quietly. "But he will soon. And when he does, everything will change." At that exact moment, Can was alone in his apartment, staring at his phone. His heart was telling him to call Sara. His mind was warning him not to. The silence between them was deafening. He opened her last message again, a simple heart emoji she'd sent before her flight. Then he looked at the headlines. His eyes darkened. "What are you hiding from me, Sara?" he whispered. And somewhere in Madrid, she whispered the same words to herself, "He's going to find out." The morning after, the headlines were no longer about a rumor, they were about betrayal. In less than 24 hours, the story had evolved from whispers to a national scandal. Spanish and Italian tabloids shared the same line in bold red letters: the secret Sara hid from Ken, the investigation she never mentioned. The articles claimed that Sara's name had resurfaced in an old legal case involving a film producer accused of financial misconduct. There was no proof of wrongdoing on her part, but the connection alone was enough to start a storm. Sara woke up to the chaos. Her phone was buzzing nonstop, hundreds of messages, missed calls, alerts. But one name was missing from that list: Ken. Her chest tightened. She knew he'd seen it. She could almost feel it. She opened her social media and saw that he had unfollowed her, quietly, without a word, without a statement. That silent gesture hit her harder than any headline. Her manager burst into her room minutes later, panic in her eyes. "It's everywhere, Sara. They're saying you hid the truth from him. They even have a photo of the producer outside your hotel from last year." Sara's voice trembled. "It wasn't like that. I didn't do anything wrong." "Then say it," her manager shouted. "Say it before it's too late." But Sara couldn't. Not yet. There was still something even worse, something she hadn't told anyone. The so-called producer wasn't just an old contact. He was someone who had invested in one of her early projects, and years ago, she had signed documents under his name to protect his money from scrutiny, without realizing how serious that was. When investigators questioned her back then, she had been cleared, but her name had been written in the file. A stain she thought was buried forever. Ken's family had found out. They hadn't told him directly, only warned Sara to handle it before someone else exposed it. And she didn't. Now, the past was here, demanding payment. Meanwhile in Rome, Ken's phone was full of calls from journalists. He ignored them all. He sat by the window, reading one article after another, feeling the walls close in. Every memory with Sara replayed in his head: her laugh, her kindness, her promises. How many of them were real? His best friend, Sam, came over. "You okay?" Ken looked up slowly. "Do I look okay?" "You can't believe everything you read, bro. Maybe there's more to it." Ken's jaw tightened. "There's always more. But the one thing I asked her for was honesty." "Are you going to call her?" "No," Ken said flatly. She had her chance. That night, the internet caught fire again, this time because of a new video. A Spanish entertainment channel aired leaked footage showing Sara leaving a restaurant in Madrid with Stephano. The video was from 2 nights ago, after her arrival. They weren't close, but they were talking intensely. The headline beneath read, "Sara Bluma meets Stephano after returning to Spain, the man who exposed her secret?" Within minutes, #Sara and Stephano and #Yaman trended worldwide. Ken watched it in silence, his face expressionless. But inside, something broke completely. Back in Madrid, Sara threw her phone across the room. "No, no, no, no," she whispered, covering her face. She knew that once this video spread, there would be no defending herself. It looked bad, too bad. Stephano called her minutes later, his tone filled with regret. "Sara, you have to believe me. I didn't leak that video. I just wanted to help you fix this before what?" she snapped through tears. "Before you destroy everything I have left? I'm trying to stop this from getting worse." "It's already worse," she screamed, hanging up. That night, Ken's family gathered at his home. His mother looked at him quietly, then said, "We warned her. We warned you both. Now you see what silence brings." Ken didn't answer. He just turned away and said in a low voice, "I loved her. That's my only mistake." Meanwhile, Sara sat on the floor of her villa, scrolling through endless hate comments. Her career, her image, her relationship. Everything was collapsing at once. And as tears blurred her vision, she saw one final notification on her phone. It was an email, from an anonymous sender. The subject line read, "It's not over. The family knows more than you think." she gasped, frozen, her heart pounding. What else do they know?" she whispered. But there was no answer, just the distant sound of waves crashing outside and the world closing in around her. 2 days later, the silence was broken. And not by Sara, but by Stephano. Late one evening, he appeared on a Spanish talk show, visibly nervous, his voice heavy with guilt. The host introduced him with words that made the internet hold its breath. He was close to Sara Bluma before the storm, and tonight, he speaks for the first time. The camera zoomed in on his face. He looked tired, almost broken. The lights reflected in his eyes as he said softly, "What people don't understand is that Sara never meant to lie. She was scared. Not for herself, but for him. For Can." The studio went silent. The host leaned forward. "So the rumors, about the documents, the producer, the family warning, they're true?" Stephano nodded slowly. "Yes. But not the way they think. She didn't commit a crime. She just made a mistake trying to protect someone she loved. And I made it worse." The confession hit like lightning. Social media exploded again. For the first time, the narrative shifted. Sara wasn't the villain anymore. She was the woman who had tried to bury her past so it wouldn't hurt the man she loved. In Rome, Can watched the interview from his living room, his phone lighting up with messages. He didn't reply to any. His expression didn't change, but his eyes softened slightly when Stephano said her name. When the interview ended, Stephano added one last sentence that no one expected: "I've already spoken to Can. He knows everything now. And I told him that she deserves forgiveness." The screen faded to black. That night, Sara's phone buzzed, a single notification that made her freeze. It was from Can. The first message since everything had fallen apart. "I saw the interview." Her heart raced. She typed quickly, fingers trembling, "Can, please. I didn't want to hurt you. I just didn't know how to tell you." He didn't reply right away. Minutes passed, then an hour. Finally, another message appeared: "You should have trusted me. But I understand why you didn't." Her tears fell before she could even finish reading. Then a third message: "Don't explain anything more. Just promise me you'll start being honest, with yourself, not the world." Sara smiled through her tears. "I promise." The next morning, Can released a short statement on his social media: "We all make mistakes. What matters is what we learn from them. I wish peace to everyone involved. No drama. No accusations. Just quiet closure." Fans were shocked. Some applauded his maturity. Others begged for them to reunite. But those closest to them knew, this wasn't about getting back together. This was about letting go with grace. Days later, Sara posted a final message of her own. A photo of the sea again, calm and endless, just like the one she had shared months ago. The caption read, "Some people come into your life as lessons. Others stay as blessings. Either way, I'm grateful." It gathered millions of likes in hours. But the one that mattered most came quietly. From Can's verified account. A small red heart. After that, they were never seen together again. But everyone who had followed their story knew what that silent gesture meant. It wasn't reconciliation. It was peace. Because some stories don't end with goodbye, they end with understanding. And for Sara and Can, that was finally enough.